Good morning, Australia. Well, it's Tim Dwyer back again, and here we go again. The Republic issue. Those who would be king, I suppose, still keep banging that drum. And unfortunately, there are so many people here in Australia who really do not understand what is at stake. I want to do a very short video this morning. I'm just going to run through a PowerPoint presentation, but I really do want you to listen to this. This is going to be interesting, and it might even bring up a few conversations around a beer or two at the pub. Well, let's have a look. Let me share the screen, get up this PowerPoint, and let's have a go. All right. Well, here are the two talking heads. Isn't it funny? Both on opposite sides of politics, supposedly, banging the same drum. I wonder how many times they've done that in the past. Yet another call for a republic. Would you trust these two, either of them or both together, to rewrite a constitution at law that would protect you and your family more than the Constitution does today? Because you've got to remember, in our current Constitution, my favorite book, where's my favorite book? This is the annotated version. The act is actually within this book. It states in here that the absolute, total and uncontrollable authority remains with the people, not with these muppets, with you and I. Anyway, more about that later on. What's behind this new push for a republic? Well, I can tell you this. It has to be money driven, because it certainly is not for the good of the country, nor for the good of the people within it. And so I'd say there's a quid in there somewhere for those who would be king. Malcolm Turnbull said in 2001, why change our proven system when Australia's leading Republican, Malcolm Turnbull, says we already have a perfectly good and functioning democracy. It is uniquely Australian system and it works well. That was recorded in the Australian newspaper on the 16th of the 7th, 2001. Mel's done flip-flops. Nothing new about that. Anyway, let's move on. One of the best in the world. Why change a system that the United Nations Human Development Index rating of 187 countries has Australia placed number 2 in the world after Norway? And listen to this. This is vital. And whose constitution is one of the great democratic documents of the modern world, Republican Professor Greg Craven in 2004. Our constitution is one of the great democratic documents of the modern world, and these two muppets, they want to scrap it. I wonder why. Listen to this. The UN's HDI report again. In it, it says 70% of the top 10 countries, so 7 out of 10, are constitutional monarchies like Australia, while the vast proponents of low-ranking countries are republics. Australia is number 2 behind Norway and America's number 4. Low-ranking countries are republics. So we want to go from being up here, these two muppets and their cohorts and everybody supporting them, whether you got a bandana wrapped around your head or not, want to bring us down to a low-ranking republic. And they don't even know what model of republic they want. Now, some facts you may not know, and the government certainly won't tell you, the media certainly won't tell you, but if you don't know what's going on, you can't make proper decisions. All right? The Constitution. This is your protection. You may not know about it because they've made it illegal to teach it in schools. This is how good they are. Oh, yes. The Constitution states that we have agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal commonwealth. Indissoluble means incapable of being annulled. So therefore, the very call for a republic is treasonous. Get your head around that. And those in public office don't listen, because each and every one of them, including the judiciary, are operating outside the lawful constitution. Let's have a quick look at this. That's a big statement, Tim. What the hell are you talking about? Well, I'm fired up and I've had a guts full. Hell, it's bad enough they've sold everything we've got that wasn't nailed down and some that was to the bloody Chinese and the Arabs and everybody else who's got a quid. They're selling you out the back door. You notice your kids don't have jobs? You notice how hard it is for you to get a job? Because they keep bringing in 457 visas or whatever they are, taking your jobs. And we let them do it. This is rubbish. Altering our constitution, section 128, subsection 148. A referendum, a double majority, a majority of people in the majority of states and territories. No amendment to the constitution can be made without the concurrence of the double majority. But they did it with a plebiscite, and stand back. Turdbull is talking about another plebiscite. It's a back door. Do not run with that. Do not push hard, guys. Push back. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is where the treason comes in. Whereas the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth and the Premiers of the States at a conference held in Canberra on the 24th and 25th of June 1982 and the 21st of June 1984 agreed on taking certain measures to bring constitutional arrangements affecting the Commonwealth and the States into conformity with the statutes of the Commonwealth of Australia as a sovereign, independent and federal nation. Every Premier, every Member of Parliament was involved in creating the Australia Act surreptitiously. Now, Section 51 of our Parliament, of our Constitution says the Parliament, the legislative power of the Commonwealth shall be vested in the federal Parliament, which consists of the Queen. Now, Albanese's waffling on about we've got to have a national head of state. He's saying it's time to divest ourselves of the United Kingdom. What you people do not understand is this has already been done surreptitiously, without a referendum, unlawfully, against the will of the people. Right? In 1986, the Australia Act altered the Australian Constitution without a referendum, thanks to Bob Hawke, right? Bear Swill and Bob, a self-confessed member of the Fabian Society. The Fabian Society's motto is socialism by gradualism, little bit by little bit. It's like cooking the frog. The acts came into effect simultaneously. The Australia Act eliminated the remaining possibilities for the UK to legislate with effect in Australia, for the UK to be involved in the Australian government, right? So Albanese's waffle is BS, and he knows it. He just wants it to sound good for the people. He's blowing smoke where it doesn't belong. They removed the Queen from the Australian Parliament, right? And any aspect of an appeal from any Australian court to a British court. So we have no court of appeal that we can go to the UK. That's been taken out. The Queen of the United Kingdom has been taken out of our Parliament in 1986 and replaced with the Queen of Australia. If you listen to the oaths that they swear when they go in for to be creating a new Parliament, they're sworn in under the Queen of Australia. Show me that watery tart. Where does she come from? What address does she live at? What does she look like? She doesn't look like anything. She doesn't live anywhere. She's a piece of paper. It's a legal, fictitious entity, and you've been hoodwinked like you wouldn't believe, and now they want to complete the deal. Every Prime Minister and every state Premier broke the highest law in the land, and they continue to do it because they also know about it. There was no referendum to alter our constitution to eliminate the Queen from the terms of the Parliament. There was no referendum on changing our legal system and appeals process. People, you got to understand, they have ridden roughshod over you at 100 miles an hour for decades, and you wonder why they're selling everything off and doing everything they can. I'm telling you, there's a quid in it for them. There is a quid in it somewhere. Maybe there's offshore bank accounts. I don't know. I got no idea. I'm just just angry here. I just cannot believe that the supposed people who are being paid a fortune by the people of Australia are still prepared to try and sell them down the drain this hard. The Australia Act of 1986. Both sides, Liberal and Labor, they're both in it. This is not Labor bashing. This is not Liberal bashing. This is just, they're all in it together. The Queen of England or the Queen of Australia? All right, Albanese. Show me where we're still under the Queen of England, and if that's the case, then you've recognised that the Constitution is the highest law in the land. Then you've sworn an oath under the Queen of Australia, so therefore you're sitting in treason. Which one is it? Do you sit under a false queen or a true queen? And if you sit under a true queen, you have to come under the constitutional law. And your whole party does, and so do the Liberals. So you can't have it both ways. Look at this. Sir Harry Gibbs. I therefore have to come to the conclusion that the current legal and political system in use in Australia and its states and territories has no basis at law. That's not me. That's a High Court judge, Sir Harry Talbot Gibbs. Now let me move to this. This is part of what Harry Gibbs wrote as to why he came to that. This is a full-blown, huge letter that Harry Gibbs wrote, right? Now, what I want to point out to you here is this. This is just a couple of snaps. I've taken a couple of excerpts out of here. I do what they do. This will suit your purpose, not theirs. Listen to this. Harry Gibbs is talking about the Australia Act and the letters patent under the new Australia Act, because they scrapped the original letters patent that formed the Office of the Governor-General. The Office of the Governor-General is formed by a letters patent, right? The Governor-General's letters patent is a comedy of errors. We are greeted in the name of the Queen of Australia, who suddenly becomes the Queen of the United Kingdom in the next paragraph. Therefore, have come to the conclusion that the current legal and political system in use in Australia and states and territories has no basis at law. Now this is where it gets a bit exciting. He's talking to other judges and he says, my advice is to adjourn any case that challenges the authority of the letters patent. Under no circumstances hear a case that challenges the validity of a state or federal constitution. It is the politicians who are using us as pawns without them having to face the music. These matters are of concern to the politicians. Let them sort out these problems and accept any inherent risk themselves. What he's saying there is the politicians created this damn mess. Don't bring it to us to fix. Every one of them knows that they're operating outside the Constitution. That's why they want a republic, so as that they can wipe out all the history of treason, of every law that's never been properly put in place, of every foreign entity treaty that they've ever done. They are all in trouble, and they know it because the door is about to slam on them. You wait and see. Again, that's what Turnbull said. The Constitution is indissoluble. Indissoluble. Who can you trust to create a new model of law for this nation? Who would you trust? Would you trust any public servant in office today? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't trust them with leftover scraps after dinner. Who would you trust in the judiciary? Everybody operating within the judiciary knows that they're operating outside the Constitution. And still they operate. Who would you trust? Every court is a corporation. Who would you trust? Corporations exist to make money. Who would you trust? Will we have communist China have some input here? They've had input everywhere else. You know, the head of the Foreign Investment Review Board was Australia's commissioner to Beijing to China, and now he's on the Foreign Investment Review Board. Who would you trust? Would Sharia law be included? How much will it cost? Well, I can tell you roughly it's going to cost $5 to $6 billion if they ever become a republic. Who do you think is going to pay for it? Do you think Malcolm Turnbull's going to stick his hand in his pocket? No, he's going to stick his hand in your pocket. Do you think Anthony Albanese is going to go and pass the hat around to his mates and say, let's pay for this ourselves? No, this country's borderline bankrupt already, and they want to run this crap. This is ridiculous, people. Who do you think is going to end up paying for it? Who do you think? These people work on the principle of Bohica. They have a Bohica principle. What that means is they tell you and I to bend over, here it comes again. I've had enough. I hope you spread this far and wide. Say no to any type of republic, because quite frankly, it is just not worth the risk. Not worth the risk. Because I don't trust any of them. Do you know why I don't trust any of them? Because the Constitution is a charter of trust between the people in the Parliament and the people who elect them. And I can tell you, they have broken that trust so many times, more times than Westpac have broken the law. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Say no to a republic. You can't afford the risk. Thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye. I hope this enlightens you a little. And understand this. Never, ever, ever give up. Never give up.